Hey, welcome in, my friend. There's something I need to tell you, something important. And no, I'm not waiting until you're ready to hear it. Because deep down, you already are. God is proud of you, not because you checked every box, or followed every rule just right. Not because you held it together when you really wanted to fall apart. Not even because you held on to faith when everything around you screamed for you to let go. God is proud of you because you kept going. Even when it would have been easier to give up. Even when no one would have blamed you for stopping. You didn't. You kept becoming. And that's no small thing. Maybe no one ever told you that before. Maybe when you were younger. When your hands were trembling but you still did the right thing. When you gave your last ounce of strength and didn't get anything in return. Maybe back then, no one saw you. No one said well done. But heaven did, that moment when you chose love, even when anger or revenge would have made more sense, heaven noticed. That's the part one want you to sit with today. Let it sink in. Nothing good you've done has gone unseen. You've been walking with a deep kind of integrity. The kind that doesn't ask for attention. The kind that shows up in quiet ways. You've been breaking old patterns, healing wounds you didn't cause, holding peace in places where chaos used to rule. And the truth? You made some really hard choices, healing choices, without any promise of a reward. But every time you did, you laid a brick in something eternal. Something sacred, because God's not interested in appearances. You don't win divine favor by suffering the right way. That's not what this is about. That's not who you are. You're not being honored because you hid your pain well. You're being honored because you rose through it. Because you stayed real, even in the middle of the storm. Because you didn't dim your light just to fit into places that couldn't handle your brilliance. You felt it all. You let it move through you. And you still came back to love, not the fuzzy feeling. That choice is rare. So rare, there's something powerful, sacred, about someone who can walk through fire and not become what burned them. Someone who can witness cruelty and still say, it ends with me. That's the kind of strength you don't learn in a sermon or find in a self-help book. That's the kind of strength you carry, and whether you fully realize it yet or not, you've already shown God what true faith looks like, not the kind of faith that's easy. Not the kind born from comfort. Your faith was shaped in the middle of the unknown. In the in-between. In those nights when nothing made sense and everything felt upside down. But even there, you didn't give up. That's why this moment, the one you're in right now, feels different. Because it is. This isn't just your time like some vague cosmic schedule. This is the moment when your truth starts ringing louder than your trauma. The moment when what you've sown in silence begins to bloom in the open. You earned this season, not by chasing it, but by becoming the kind of person who could hold it, through those late nights no one else knew about. Through that self-control that looked like defeat to people who didn't understand your strength. Through every single choice that didn't make sense on paper, but made perfect sense to your soul. And now, something's shifting. That light you've been cultivating in private, it's starting to spill out. People around you are going to start feeling it, even if they can't explain why. That peace you had to fight for, it's going to start meeting you halfway. And no, that's not random. That's what happens when a soul refuses to quit. Now, you might still feel unsure. Maybe this new ease feels foreign. Maybe joy feels like a language you used to speak, but haven't in a long time. That's okay. It's coming back. And not because you did everything right. Not because you found the magic formula. Not because you finally said the perfect prayer. It's returning because even when you doubted yourself, God didn't. God knew exactly what it was doing when you were created. When that soul of yours landed in this body. When your eyes were shaped to see deeper, your heart molded to feel further, your voice gifted to carry truth, you're what healing looks like in real time, you're what integrity looks like in a world that prefers filters over truth, you're the living example of what it means to walk as a soul that hasn't forgotten where it came from, even when the world around you did. And hey, let's not pretend it's been easy. The sacred stuff rarely is. There were nights you didn't sleep. Mornings where the weight of starting over felt unbearable. Moments where you wanted to retaliate, to burn it all down. But instead, you released, that version of you, that silent warrior, that's the one heaven cheers for the loudest, not the polished, picture-perfect you. The honest you, the one who wrestled with it. Who stuck around. Who surrendered, but didn't give up. You don't need to prove yourself to God anymore. You've already built your place at the table. And it wasn't through perfection, it was through persistence. Through love. Through walking when everything in you wanted to sit down. And now, that seat. It's being prepared, not as a favor, as a response, because the God who stood with you in every battle, in every silent cry, in every quiet win, is now placing something sacred in your hands, honor, real honor, and it's not coming later. It's here now. So here you are, standing at the edge of a life that finally sees you, and maybe it feels weird. Maybe you're still adjusting to the fact that some doors open without a struggle now. That people begin to recognize your value without you having to first prove your pain. Let me say it clearly, it's your turn, not just for peace, but for joy, not just to survive, but to expand, because there's a huge difference between getting by and being truly blessed. And the truth is, for far too long, you've known how to endure. You've been strong, steady, resilient. You've carried burdens that would have broken other people, and still showed up with love, but now, you're stepping into something new. You're not just learning how to hold joy again, you're remembering how it feels to breathe without bracing. To exist without constantly anticipating loss. To smile and mean it, without the weight of waiting for the next hit. And this shift, it isn't just about timing, it's about alignment. It's what happens when your soul stops shrinking just to make other people comfortable. When you stop hiding just to avoid being misunderstood. When you finally allow yourself to be seen, fully, truthfully, unapologetically, because let's be real, your presence is powerful, you're not just a glimmer of hope in someone's darkness. You're proof, living proof, that a soul can be both soft and unbreakable. That someone can lose everything and still choose to rebuild without becoming bitter. You carry grace, the kind that disrupts facades. The kind that makes people question their masks, just by being near you. Your truth doesn't shout, but it's heard. Your light doesn't beg for attention, but it shines through every room you walk into. And now, finally, the universe is responding, not just with vague signs or gentle nudges, but with real, tangible shifts. Opportunities that find you without you chasing them. People who connect with your heart without draining your energy. Paths that used to feel impossible now clearing with ease, not because life suddenly got easy, but because you've changed. You've become someone who can carry this season. You've built the inner foundation that can actually hold what's arriving. You didn't skip any steps. You didn't shortcut your way here, you lived every inch of this journey. Felt every high and low. Walked through every closed door, every rejection, every delay, and you still chose love. Still chose growth. So hear me when I say, you don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't have to unpack your pain for others to respect your strength. You don't need to justify your arrival to anyone who didn't walk the path with you. Let them wonder, let them ask, how did they get here? Because God knows, God saw every silent prayer you whispered in the dark. Every time you bit your tongue when you could have screamed. Every time you decided to not go back to the version of yourself that begged for crumbs when you were always meant to sit at the feast, God kept count when no one else did. Every moment of restraint, every act of kindness when it wasn't returned, every sacrifice no one clapped for, it all mattered. It was all seen. It was all sacred, and now the world is about to feel different to you, not because the world has changed, but because you have, your discernment has grown sharper. You don't entertain what drains you anymore. You don't chase what confuses you. You don't bargain with energy that feels off, no matter how pretty it looks on the outside. That you've learned what peace really feels like, and that's why you no longer tolerate the chaos that once felt normal. You're not above anyone. You're not better than anyone, you've just stopped shrinking beneath yourself. That's what spiritual maturity looks like. You've earned honor, and it's not just coming, it's here.